Attention passionate Atlanta, Falcons fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC South and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Atlanta Falcons' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Atlanta Falcons fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Atlanta, FALCONS FANS. Let's get to the news alright, Falcons fans, buckle up, because there's been some interesting moves just before the start of the regular season that could really shake things up in the NFC South. The Atlanta Falcons are making strategic roster adjustments, and it's clear they're aiming to strengthen their squad for what promises to be an intense and competitive year. The team has just recently announced that they've added a defensive lineman from the Carolina Panthers practice squad, Sam Roberts, and at the same time, they've parted ways with wide receiver David Sills. Now, I know what you're thinking. What does this mean for the Falcons season? Well, let's dive into the details, because this move is actually quite telling about the team's current strategy and future outlook. First, let's talk about the move to bring in Sam Roberts. Roberts is a player who's been around the league, and he's got an interesting background. Drafted late by the New England Patriots, he spent last year with the Panthers, where he was part of their practice squad. He's appeared in 17 NFL games, not a huge number, but enough to get some valuable experience. He's even started in one game, and he's accumulated 8 tackles so far in his career. What's promising about Roberts is his recent performance in 2024, especially as a run defender, according to Pro Football Focus. Now, his career hasn't been completely smooth. He had a shaky start in New England. But last year with Carolina, he showed flashes of solid play, and that's likely what caught Atlanta's eye. Roberts' addition makes sense when you look at the Falcons' defensive line depth. The team has been working to improve against the run, an area where they faced some struggles last season. Adding a player like Roberts, who has shown he can be reliable against the run, gives Atlanta another option along that defensive front. Keep in mind, he's just been promoted to the 53-man roster, but whether he'll be active for Sunday's game against the Buccaneers remains to be seen. Still, his presence provides some much-needed depth, especially considering the physical style of play in the NFC South. The Falcons have a talented defensive line, but injuries and fatigue can always hit at inopportune moments, so having Roberts as an option is a smart move. Now, shifting gears to the offensive side, the Falcons made a move that might seem less glamorous but is equally strategic. Cutting wide receiver David Sills. Sills was their 7th receiver on the roster, and that might seem like a minor detail, but it actually speaks volumes about the team's evaluation process. Sills had been a player they liked enough to keep around through the preseason, even playing a few snaps early in preseason games where he showed some promise. But ultimately, the team decided to part ways with him, likely planning to sign him to the practice squad soon. This kind of move is typical in NFL roster management. Players who showed potential but aren't quite fitting into the immediate game plan get waived, with the hope they'll stick around on the practice squad. The interesting part here is that the Falcons are carrying 6 receivers on their active roster for now, which suggests they're confident in their core group, especially with guys like Drake London and the potential return of DeAndre Swift, who can also line up as a receiver. Raheem Morris, the team's head coach, has indicated that wide receiver Darnell Mooney is a game-time decision for the Falcons opener. If Mooney isn't ready, the team has plenty of options to fill that void, including elevating players like Dylan Drummond, Chris Blair, or Nick Nash for specific games. The flexibility in their receiver core is a smart move, especially with the season kicking off and injuries always looming. Now, what does this all mean for the Falcons' outlook? Well, making these roster moves shows that Atlanta is actively adjusting their squad to optimize their chances. Bringing in Roberts adds depth and stability to the defensive line, focusing on stopping the run and providing additional pressure against opponents. Cutting Sills, on the other hand, shows a calculated approach to roster management, prioritizing the best fit for the team's current needs, while keeping the door open for him to return on the practice squad if he clears waivers. Looking at the bigger picture, the Falcons' defense, especially their front 7, was a bit inconsistent last season. They had moments of brilliance, but also lapses that kept some games closer than they should have been. The addition of Roberts could help solidify that particular area, especially since the NFC South features dynamic running backs and versatile offenses. Players like Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, and even the passing game with Taylor Heinicke will benefit from a defense that can more effectively stop the run and put pressure on quarterbacks. On the offensive side, the Falcons are banking on their young core to develop further and make a leap this year. Drake London, one of their most talented receivers, is entering his third season, and the team is counting on him to be a primary target. The uncertainty around Darnell Mooney's availability adds a layer of intrigue, but the team's depth at receiver helps cushion that blow. Plus, with the tight end position also looking promising, the Falcons are trying to diversify their offensive attack. The coaching staff has been emphasizing a balanced approach, with a focus on establishing the run game, which has always been a Falcons' hallmark, especially with Bijan Robinson coming in as a dynamic rookie. The NFC South remains one of the most unpredictable divisions in the NFL. Last year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and New Orleans Saints showed flashes of brilliance, but consistency was a challenge. The Carolina Panthers, despite some struggles, have a promising young quarterback in Bryce Young, and the Falcons are looking to capitalize on their own talent and strategic moves to climb to the top. These roster adjustments, although seemingly minor, are part of a bigger puzzle, building a team that can not only contend, but also make a deep playoff run. Now, let's touch on the significance of these moves in the context of the season. The NFL is a league of injuries, surprises, and strategic adjustments. The Falcons' decision to add Roberts signals their confidence in their defensive scheme and their desire to improve against the run. It's a move that could pay dividends, especially if he gets some playing time early in the season. On the other hand, the decision to waive Sills, while seemingly less dramatic, is a smart organizational move, one that allows the team to keep flexibility throughout the season. If Mooney doesn't turn out to be ready for Week 1, the Falcons have options to quickly elevate another receiver and keep their offensive flow intact. And speaking of the season ahead, fans are naturally eager to see how these roster moves translate on the field. The Falcons have a talented roster with a lot of potential, but success often hinges on health, chemistry, and a bit of luck. The defense, led by players like Grady Jarrett and the addition of someone like Roberts, could become a formidable force if everything clicks. The offense, with Bijan Robinson and Drake London leading the charge, looks primed to put up points and keep defenses honest. But beyond individual players and game plans, what really fuels the excitement for Falcons fans is the hope. Hope that this team can finally reach the heights many have been dreaming about for years. Franchise has had its share of ups and downs, but with these strategic moves, they're clearly focused on building a balanced, competitive team ready to take on the NFC South and beyond. The NFC South has always been a division that offers surprises, and with the Falcons making these calculated roster adjustments, they're positioning themselves to be serious contenders, not just this season but for years to come. In the end, the NFL is a game of inches, of small moves that lead to big outcomes. The addition of Sam Roberts and the release of David Sills might seem like minor roster tweaks, but they're part of a much larger narrative, a team that's actively shaping its destiny. As the season approaches, all eyes will be on how these moves play out on Sundays, how the players develop, and whether the Falcons can harness this momentum to finally get back to the Super Bowl. And you better believe, fans, that every play, every drive, every game counts in this quest. So stay tuned, keep supporting your team, and get ready for an exciting season ahead. The Falcons are not just building for today, they're building for a future where they can compete at the highest level. And with moves like these, they're making sure they're not leaving anything to chance. The NFC South better watch out because Atlanta is coming strong, and they're doing everything possible to make sure this year is the year they punch their ticket back to the big stage. Remember, this is just the beginning and the best is yet to come. Keep your eyes peeled for more updates, analysis, and behind-the-scenes insights because the Atlanta Falcons are on the rise, and you don't want to miss a second of it. Thanks for sticking with me, Falcons fans. Let's go, Atlanta!